Guys, welcome back. As promised, another video today is another case review, but it's a case review with a difference. This is a case you can no longer buy new, so if you do find one, it's only going to be second hand. I've actually had this case in the past, and stupidly I sold it on with a build in it. And I've always regretted getting rid of it, and I've been searching for over a year to try and find another one. One recently came up for sale in this last week on eBay, so I snagged the deal with the seller, got it shipped here, paid my own UPS to get it here, so I had it here in time to do this video today for you. It is an InWin G7. It's not a full tower case, but not a mini or midi tower case. It's kind of somewhere in between. You'll see what I mean when I actually go through the features of it. This particular one cost me £25 for the actual case itself, and then it was my shipping costs on top of that to get it here. The reason I actually wanted to get another one is I've got an old motherboard and CPU with a dual core CPU and some RAM, but I've got a load of old hard drives, and I'm going to build a Plex server into it. So that may be something I film as well, is actually building the machine and putting all the drives in and setting up the Plex server, because I've got, you know, probably, I don't know, 3/4 of a terabyte of data on my backup drive on my PC as it is, and I'd like to get that store backed up off-site. I'm still going to keep the data on my PC because it's all my video shoots and documents and everything else. But I want it backed up off-site, or rather on-site, but off that machine onto a server. So it's going to double up as a backup data server and as a Plex server, because it's going to have all my music and videos and stuff on it as well. So without further ado, let's get on to reviewing the case. Okay, so here we have the case. As you can see, it's a bit taller than a midi, not quite as tall as a full tower, for reasons I'll get into when I actually open the case up. Now, as you can see, it does actually have one of the 5.25 inch bay covers missing. This isn't a problem because I'm actually going to put a card reader in here with a drive bay adapter, just so I've got some form of card reader on this machine. As you can see on the back, this is the back panel, it says PC Specialist. That's where this case originally came from, to the person I bought the case from. The case actually came up from, I think it was from Bristol somewhere, the case actually came from. But yeah, it's a very good case, as you can see. So we've got that one there. We've also got two more drive bays which are still covered up. So you could effectively at some point put 3 5.25 inch drives in this. Not that I'm going to be doing that. For ventilation at the front, it's pretty much limited as intake to this little gap down the bottom here. That is pretty much it. All the rest of this is a solid front, so the only air intake at the front is down here. Underneath, we've got the feet are roughly, I would say, probably 3/4 of an inch tall, the feet, which gives it lift off. You've got two little clip-in grills underneath. You've got one near the rear, which would be your filtered air intake for your power supply. You've also got another one here, which is actually a filter for a 120mm fan that you can actually put in the inside of the bottom of the case. So, you know, it's one of those little cheap clipping fan. It's not a slide in, slide out removable, but it's a filter nonetheless, which is always a good thing to have. On the side of the case, we've got nice big open mesh, which actually has mounting points for 220mm fans, so plenty of space for air intake here. On the rear we have another space for a 120mm fan, your standard 7 expansion port slots. You've actually got 2 grommeted entries here for an external water cooler. This was very early in the days of liquid cooling, where sometimes either your pump or your radiator would be external to the case. So they've actually got grommets here for running your pipe work through in and out of the case, which is quite a clever idea. And then, like I say, on the back side, you've got the embossing on the back panel for allowing space behind your motherboard tray for your cable management. So let's get the side panel off and we'll have a look on the inside. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, the top of the case. So ports wise, we've got two USB 2s, we've got USB 3 and your normal headphone and mics. You've got your power button. Now this is a throwback to the very early days of motherboards. There's actually a turbo button for back in the days when you actually had a turbo switch connector on the motherboard where you could actually increase the speed of your PC by hitting the turbo. It reduced the life of the components, but you could turbo your machine up. On the top of the machine we have a vent. It's a grilled vent. Again, you can put a fan underneath that. But at the front here, I don't know how well the camera's picking that up, but we actually have a hot swap SATA port. Obviously you need to have the hot swap enabled in your BIOS, whether it be an old standard like a DOS type BIOS or a more modern UEFI, but you have to have hot swap enabled for that to work as a hot swap port. You can use it as another docking port for a hard drive that you would slot in there before you powered the PC up, and the machine would read it as a hard drive as if it was internal. I know all this because I've had a machine built in one of these before. My old workstation was in one of these cases. So again, thumb screws for the side panel. I'll take those off. Remove the side panel, and this is where it gets interesting. So we've got a nice big open chassis area. There is no power supply shroud. Not that it matters because it's not a clear side panel. So your power supply, it doesn't matter whether it's ketchup and mustard, semi-modular, modular, flat black cables or sleeved cables or whatever, it doesn't matter because you're not going to see them. So you've got, coming down from the front, obviously you've got your normal motherboard front panel headers. You've got a SATA cable coming down from your hot swap port to plug onto your motherboard. There's actually a SATA power supply that comes down as well for the hot swap port. You have a USB 3 plug, and you've got your USB 2 and your front audio plugs. Now instead of standoffs, this particular case actually has like moulded pyramids with threads in that you sit your motherboard on, and then you screw down to those little moulded pyramids in the metal. Now the reason I bought this case for a server is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toolless clip-in drive bays, and also as part of that, underneath, so you've got 4 down the bottom and you've got 2 up the top. But between those, you also have, if I can get this thing to clip back in, at this point just here, you have a mounting for a 2.5-inch drive. So you could put a 2.5-inch SATA drive in here for your boot drive, which is pretty much what I intend to do. I've got 5 hard drives I'm going to be putting in. The motherboard system that I've got to go in here has only got 4 SATA ports. However, I do have a PCI SATA card to give me 2 more ports. So I'll be having the hard drive, the SSD is my boot drive, and 5 hard drives in this machine for storage. I will have a total of 3 terabytes of storage because one of the drives is a 1 terabyte, the other 4 are half terabyte drives. So I'll have a total of 3 terabytes of storage, obviously, as well as my SSD that will be my boot drive. It's only a little 60 gig SSD, but that doesn't matter because all it's going to have on it is the operating system and the Plex server software. So that is it as far as the inside. Now this case is supposed to come with 3 toolless clips. They've obviously been lost by the former owner of this case, but it doesn't matter because I'll be using, with the drive bay adapter I'll be using for the card reader, it needs to be screwed in place anyway. It can't be held in place with the toolless clips. So that's what I'll be doing with that. The top itself is quite easily removed. There's a little clip in the top here, and then the entire top slides back a little bit, and comes up. That's how clever that is. And then you've got your fan mounting area here, and then that just sits on there and clips, push forward, and it locks in place. So now we'll go on to the back. I'll take the back panel off and we'll have a look and see how much space we've got behind there. Like I say, this is it's a weird kind of case review because you can't actually buy this case new anymore. But I figured it was actually an important case in my history, and somebody else might be looking to do the same thing that I'm doing, and this is a good case for that purpose. Right, so in the back, it's fully open all the way through from front to back. We've got a nice big opening in the back of the motherboard tray where your CPU mounting bracket will go. So if you ever change your CPU cooler, you haven't got to take the board out. You can just take the cooler off, undo the fixing brackets, change the mounting bracket on the back, fix your new cooler, job done. We've got a cutout in the top here for feeding your 4-pin or 8-pin EPS over the top of the motherboard, coming up from the back, over the top and plug into the top of the board. Tie down points, we have 2 here, another one here, and that is pretty much it for tie down points. We do have another hole here at the bottom of the tray for feeding cables. If you're running a short board, say a mini ATX board, for running your front panel cables down across the back and up and into the board, save having to run them across the front of the board. We have 3 open spaces here. The top one is larger than the other 2 because that would be primarily where you would feed your 20-pin or 24-pin ATX power through, and the other 2 would be for things like graphics cards and optional powers. So yeah, here is that's our power for our turbo, which obviously we're not going to be using. The front panel itself is actually removable. It has 3 clips on, as you look at it from the front, the left hand side. So we undo those 3 clips and the front panel slides out of the way and reveals mounting points for 2 fans. I think it was originally meant to come with 2 of these little fan grills. Obviously one's been misplaced, but the fans themselves, there's no screws involved. It's toolless fit. They just push in and clip in behind these 2 little clips either side of the entry, and they just clip in place. And then you've got an open point here and another open point here to feed your fan power leads round the back to where they're being powered from. So I'm going to leave this one in here because I will be utilising these 2 front fan entries because that's what's going to keep, because obviously this machine is going to be running 24/7. The fans are what is going to keep the hard drives cool. So that will be going back on there. So overall, I think it's a very, very good case. Like I say, it's cost me £25, but it all depends where you manage to find one as to what you will pay for it. I mean, I've seen these in the past when I actually had mine, and they were kind of more available, which we're talking 3, 4, 5 years ago, when they were a bit more available. There was a few more floating around. They were still then going for £35, £40 because people still wanted them for building servers. I think now they're becoming so scarce. I was extremely lucky to get this for the price I paid for it, because anybody who's got one knows their worth of this case. This case should, I think when this case was new, it was about £120. So second hand, this case should probably be somewhere around about the £50 mark, because it's a very good case for building servers or Plex servers or whatever else into. So £25 I think was a steal. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to get a server built into this. Like I say, I may film it, I may not, depending on how I feel and what other obligations I've got at the moment. So, you know, there we go. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, hit the bell so you know when the next one goes up. As previously mentioned, if you're interested in any of our merch, or you've got any ideas for merch we should be doing, please put it in the comments below. I do read all my comments. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.